Welcome to Breakthrough Success. I am your host, Mark Caberti, founder of the Content Marketing Plaza, bringing you 3 new episodes each week where I and top-level guests teach you how to take your business to the next level and achieve your breakthrough. And before we jump into today's episode, let me ask you a quick question. How much would your life change if you could make 6 figures from your content? Imagine being able to quit your 9-to-5 job, do what you love for a living, and spend more time with your family. That's what we help our students do at the Content Marketing Plaza, an 8-week program that will help you build your way to 6 figures via your content. You can learn more about the Plaza by heading over to contentmarketingplaza.com, which will be in the show notes. All right, let's jump right back into the episode. We all have one life, one opportunity to do all the different things that we want to do, and when we really just have this one moment, we might as well use it to thrive as much as we possibly can. And if you want to thrive in your life, today's guest recommends basically Awaken Your Alpha. And today's guest who will be with us today, he is a mindset mentor, KeyNote speaker, TEDx speaker, and #1 best-selling author. He is also the host of the top-ranked podcast, Awaken Your Alpha, where he interviews the world's elite in over 300 episodes since 2014. His new book, Awaken Your Alpha, Tales and Tactics to Thrive, became an international bestseller in October 2018. Today's guest for episode 297 of the Breakthrough Success Podcast is none other than Adam Lewis Walker. Adam, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Cheers, thanks for having me. It's a good intro. I like it. I'm hyped up as well now. It's very good. 297. Well done, man. That's close. I would have liked to have been episode 300. Something good about that. Probably back to thinking of the movie 300. But no, that's awesome. Well done.
Adam, I'm really happy to have you on the show, and I'm really looking forward to diving into this. I know you're over 300. I will be there very soon, not quite yet. But let's talk a little bit more about your message and what you've done. So there's obviously so much to cover, but let's start with some backstory. So can you talk with us a little bit about how the whole Awaken Your Alpha brand, the podcast, and the book came to be?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I think you'll be beyond me pretty soon, because I think, you got to 300 or getting to 300 a lot quicker than me, and I'm slowing down in my old age. I'm closing on 350 episodes, but I do like 1 a week now, and I know you've got a few more a week than me. But okay, so yeah, Awaken Your Alpha, really it comes from, I co-authored a book in 2013, The New Rules of Success, and once I met the entire group, which was on paper, in my head initially at least, it was quite a mishmash of different people. I couldn't really see the common thread until I met them all and had the conversations. And obviously it was the mindset, and these are people from all over the world, South Africa, England, Australia, America, all different ages, all different backgrounds. And there was a very common thread in terms of their mindset, their approaches, and definitely there was some similarities. So the conversations I had there, that kind of when a light bulb went off, that there's something in these conversations. This should really be shared and have a very international theme, because at the time I thought there was a lot of podcasts, in America, interviewing Americans, and I wanted to really make sure I stayed true to that, the international feel of it, and also drawing on. That was part of my process of in 2008, and then up to 2010. Really, I had a quite bad pole vault accident where I was rehab and crutches and operations for 2 years, and was basically down in the dumps, depressed, and had to really battle for my alpha. What I know now, at the time, I was just doing all and anything I could to get out of the slump. So yeah, that's really my story involved in the story of the book and Awaken Your Alpha. And as I say, it's from a very selfish point of view, interviewing these inspiring peoples and purely approaching it in that way to find out the tales and tactics to thrive. Firstly for myself, but at the same time for everyone else, and anything I think is useful and I'm interested in finding out, there's going to be other people out there who are also interested in finding out that information.
And you mentioned the power of interviewing. I definitely see that with my show as well. That's why I've been scrambling to interview as many people as possible, because it really does help. But It's interesting how you mentioned you were at your rock bottom point in 2010, and I mean, we do hit that rock bottom, but it's the mindset that really propels us out of that rock bottom. So I'm wondering if you could share with us. I know you talk about mindset in your book, but how did you get that alpha mindset during that rock bottom? Because it's easy to have it when you are on a high, but how did you build it at the bottom, and how do you even keep it when you have a rough patch?
Yeah, full disclaimer, I didn't have it, and that was kind of the issue, the point. Exactly what you said there. It would have been really handy to have that mindset before you're at rock bottom, or maybe that would stop you going as low as I did. But that's what really exposed a weakness. And it's not one of the, I know, focus on your strengths, and everyone has weaknesses. But when a weakness is something like mindset, and when it comes to dealing with extreme adversity, which I know is a challenge for everyone, but that's not something that you can avoid in your life, period, I should say. We're all going to have adversity. It's not, I wonder if I can dodge it for my go round. It's going to happen in some shape or form. So yeah, completely honest, it wasn't like a tale of me, I've stormed it, I've done, this is my mind. No, I struggled for a good couple of years, and that was the issue. Maybe I thought I had a strong mindset, but again, you never really know until you're truly tested, and that was really the big test for me. So in terms of doing what I could to get out of that, which was never any big jumps forwards or leaps forwards or this is what you do kind of scenario, just like 1% here and there, just getting better slowly day by day. But it really was hitting that. Oh, sorry, 1 second. This has just gone to low power mode on Instagram. So no, just the only thing I would say is just hitting that rock bottom. Then once I'd done that, kind of bottomed out and realized, because you don't know where the bottom is, and you're feeling slightly better, and I mean like 1% better than yesterday, and then again the next day, it is a relief that you feel like you're going in the right direction. And everyone in life is either, it's growing or dying. You're either getting better slightly, or, you're slipping down. And once you've got a little bit of momentum, and it only has to be a little bit, then that is obviously hugely mentally rewarding. And even though you're still not happy, for example, or you're definitely not thriving, at least you're getting better. And I think that's something important, and definitely my approach to things. And so you not beat yourself up about where you are currently. Just focus on things and very much on a being present and on a daily basis. I think is huge.
Yeah, and you mentioned something really important, which is to not beat ourselves down too much, because it's natural for you listening to the show at home or in your car. You are an entrepreneur, you are side hustling, and you're pretty much grinding. And it's natural for us to look at what we haven't done instead of what we've done and really beat ourselves up. So I'm wondering, because I know Awaken Your Alpha taps into how we can achieve more, so I definitely love to explore that. But how can we achieve more, continue on that journey without, though, feeling down about ourselves and thinking about what we don't have rather than what we've already done?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the comparison thing is definitely a route to unhappiness and just stress basically as well. Because again, the especially as we're on Instagram and on people listening to us on podcasts and people watching things on Facebook, is very easy, or it's to fall into the trap of comparing your high or your reality to someone else's highlight reel, for starters. But also, everyone has different wants and needs and goals. If you really dig down to the core of it, it's only on the surface level that people say very generic things they want to achieve, that kind of society has kind of pushed on you, and you just say, oh yeah, that's what I must do to be happy, or that's where I must live, and this is what I must earn, and these are the things I must have. But I think that's really important to do the work to find out what it is you truly want and what would truly make you happy and fulfilled. That's the first thing. But yeah, just not comparing yourself to someone else, but also, even if someone, let's just say your evil twin is out there, that let's say they're a few years ahead of you, but that's the thing. there may be someone that you really think, yeah, that they want all the same wants as me. They've got so much similarities. They are like almost identical to me. And then you're comparing yourself to them. They just may be, a few years further down the journey. It's not better or worse. It's just further down the journey, and it's in a different space. So I think that's really, once don't just pay lip service to that, and you actually believe that, then you can feel a lot more content, satisfied with what you got, because it is a tough thing to tackle if you are ambitious and you want to achieve all these certain things, but then balancing that with being grateful for where you are, enjoying the moment, enjoying your days, and not just turning your life into an endless to-do list. Because if you are like massively ambitious, it's a very common pitfall to just feel unsatisfied and just, always thinking of the future and being dissatisfied with where you are now.
And that's a really deep idea, because we do have that sometimes dissatisfaction when we think so much about the achieving and what we don't have. And I mean, that's a really important thing to grasp. And I really think that a lot of the reason why we don't necessarily achieve all the things that we want to achieve is that our priorities are not fully set. Because if we have this, you mentioned, like, you don't want your life to feel like this entire to-do list. And I think when you get this idea of to-do list, it's everything that you have to do instead of all the things that are the most important to you, which are those priorities. So how can we not only get our priorities straight, because some people may just know what those are but not be doing them. So how can we get those straight and then actually go ahead and do them?
Yeah, good question. So as well as in terms of to-do lists, I like to at least write them as get-to-do lists, or, because it's that mindset between, oh, I have to do this, oh, look at this list that you made. So I guess like you don't have to do any of this stuff. But it's that mental approach as well, like, oh, I have the opportunity, instead of I have the opportunity to, or I get to, my get-to-do list, and I'm like, yes, I get to do this stuff. So that's the first thing. But in terms of priorities, wherever you are, as in today, I like to do, a stock take, and you don't do this every day, realistically, but to get that kind of clarity of, because a lot of people say, oh, I need to do all this, and they get overwhelmed because, oh, everything's a priority. But that cannot happen, because if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So just take a simple stock take of, some of the areas, issues, core areas of your life that are important to you in general, or specifically feel on your mind at the moment. So you could be, could be finances, it could be your health, it could be energy, it could be social, it could be family, it could be a whole variety of things, and just list them out. I wouldn't go past, 5 to 6 to 7, and then rate yourself out of 10 in terms of your personal satisfaction with them. And that's the important thing. So that's where it doesn't matter about outside influences. It doesn't matter about how much you're earning, or what, if you've technically got a great job or a great business. It's your personal satisfaction with each aspect. And then, with 10 being, legendary, 0 being just not good, literally depressed, the worst ever. And then just go through that. Don't overthink it too much, but just go through that, jot that down, and then it will at least help illuminate. If you're thinking got so many areas that you need work on, if there's like some 2s in there, or if they're all 8s and then there's one 6 in there, that would become a priority. And if you're talking about the whole alpha and awaken your alpha, for me that is that not sacrificing one core area of your life for success in the others. So obviously, if it's not important to you, don't put it down there. But if there's something that's important to your life and your lifestyle that is scoring lowest, then instantly, as of today, at least for the next 30 days, you can have a real big dent if you actually have focused action. That becomes a priority. Like, what can you do today, starting today, and then over the next 30 days to bring that up a little bit for you? So this is where, as well, if it's finances, you could be a millionaire and still score yourself financially 2. Because it's personal satisfaction. You could be on very low money but still score yourself 9, because it's your personal satisfaction. So that's what I like about it. It's a very personal thing, and at least it just gives you a realistic snapshot of where you are now and where you need to focus and prioritize your attentions to be happier and more fulfilled. So it's just, but you do need to be brutally honest. Don't do this scoring thing thinking, oh, I wonder if my wife's going to see this, or I wonder if this is, thinking that someone else is going to look at it, because a lot of times we say certain things or we do certain things because of how we want to appear or how we believe we should, feel about certain things.
And I really like that self-assessment. Now, again, like as Adam mentioned, you have to be brutally honest with yourself, because if then in a self-assessment like this, it's not like you're handing it in. It's something that you get to look at to see where you rank in these important areas of your life. And by being really honest with yourself, you realize where you need to improve and also where you need to improve the most. One advice I have with a ranking: don't give yourself a 7 on anything. That is a tip that I heard, because then you'll either give yourself a 6 or an 8. I think that was in a Tim Ferriss book. So
I've heard that before. That's a good one. Very good point, because it links back to my whole thing in life. Like, it's the maybes in life that kill us all. Majority of all the time, a yes or a no. The ability to make decisions is a huge life skill. It's when you say maybe, it's basically a no without the balls to say it, and it's so frustrating because it does let people always live in that state of tomorrow and live with all these maybes that are maybes to the grave. But just if you have the ball, if they're a no, that's fine. But yes or no, make that decision and then deal with the consequences. But very, very important. And when you're saying about being brutally honest as well, you don't have to justify it. This is just like, you don't think you can do the work to ask, I wonder why that is a 2. I thought that would be higher. Or why am I so satisfied or feeling so satisfied with this when it, by society standards, maybe it isn't a 10. But by me, I'm like loving this. This is fine. So you can do that work after if you want, but don't justify it. Don't overthink it. Just, this is your personal satisfaction. You don't have to explain it to anyone.
Yeah, and also if you explain it to people, like especially if it's the wrong group of people, it can really give you a bad idea of where you rank on these issues, and really, like in some cases, they can just drag you down. So I recommend just keeping some of those kinds of thoughts to yourself, especially those self-assessments. And when you do something like a self-assessment, you take action, you put in the work so that you're getting some results, a momentum starts to build. And I'm wondering if you could share with us how we can build on momentum so that it's not something that we have for a week and then fades away.
Yeah, brilliant. No, so there's something I talk about in the book, is the momentum mindset, and it's why I'm a big fan. Like, plastered across my office on one side of the wall is just the quote, do it now, by Arnold from the movie Predator, one of my favorite movies. But it's about just avoiding at all costs this planning for perfect action that, you can either take the perspective, nothing's perfect or everything's perfect, whatever you want to say. But the whole point is, don't plan a good action for tomorrow. Do something. Whenever it comes to, planning or doing anything like that, the planning needs to start as in, what can you do today? Physically do it. It could be a minor thing, and you can do something tomorrow, obviously, but you need to start. If it's important to you, you need to start today. And it doesn't have to be a huge thing, but it builds that momentum. And massively, we talked about, when someone's struggling at the start of the interview and stuff, and I'm a huge believer in that saying that action alleviates anxiety. It's surprising if you're feeling like overwhelmed, stressed, or you don't know why. Getting a little bit of this clarity, so not just mindless action, but getting a little bit of this clarity of what is the priority, what is the most urgent thing to make you feel better, to get somewhere. Get a little bit of this clarity and then start that action as you literally find out, this is what I need to focus on. Right, okay, I understand I may need to do this big thing down the line. Work it back to the point where, okay, what am I doing now? Whether it's jumping on the phone, doing a search, something physical that is actually moving you towards where you need to go.
And I mean, that's really great advice, to just do it today, to start. Starting's actually one of the harder parts instead of the doing. Like once you start, it's just it gets easier to do the work. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that start, because let's say that you want to read, let's say for 20 minutes per day, just like a basic habit, we'll throw it out there. Yeah. We know how to read for 20 minutes. You flip a book open, you read for 20 minutes. It's just that we rarely get to big habits like that, big things we want to do because our days are so busy. So how do you suggest we actually get into that act of starting and doing things today?
Yeah, good example. So, I mean, for me personally, and I think, there's been lots of studies around this and lots of talks around this, interviews around this, no one, depending on your situation, like you said, things in the day happen. The day gets away from people. You may be in a job where you aren't in as much control as you'd like to be, and the outside influences really have an impact. But everyone, generally is in control of the start of their day. So my point is, for the reading example, okay, so your alarm, if you have one or whatever it is, when you get up, literally roll and read some pages, and then you can have a very like full and structured morning routine. Or if you're in a very restrictive and you're already out the door at like 5 a.m. for a 2-hour commute to some job you hate, you might only have a smaller window, but there is always time. So I would suggest heavily get a morning routine with things like routines of things that are priorities. So say for the reading the book, for example, then there's no one that can stop you doing that. And also these things, the benefits from positive habits and getting you in the right space in your life and in the day, the benefits from them are, especially are, right after them. So why do them at the end of the day? And then, you want to start your day right. So it's, there's famous speeches, there's books written on, make your bed. That's, we talk about momentum. The rationale, the logic behind that, which, again, I'm completely on board with. You start the day, you've completed one task, you've achieved something. As minor as it is, your life to start with is in order so far. You've got up, you've made your bed, you've accomplished something, one small thing. Whether it's then you drop and do 10 press-ups, okay, you've accomplished something else. Whether you then read 2 pages of a book, that sort of thing would probably take all in 5 minutes. But it's the accumulation, that compound effect of, it's easy to do, but it's easy not to do. So, but that sort of thing, you get all the endorphins, you're good. It's the right sort of thing to do. So, I mean, you tailor make your own morning routines and, green smoothies and all these different things and something, but, you're in control of that. So don't even hit me with any excuses of why you can't do it. You can do it. It's just a decision. And once people have balls to say, this is a decision, it's not because I'm too busy, then that's the only way that you're going to move forwards, which is, if we come back, it's not a blame game. The whole point of these sorts of conversations, and if you're interested in this, is because you want to get better. Like, you want to have that kind of lifestyle of continual improvement and striving for not necessarily to achieve things, but achieve a happy, more fulfilled life. So the only way, and talked about that brutally honest snapshot, is once you've done that as well, claiming it, the good and the bad, taking full responsibility for everything in there. And that's the only way you can ever move forward. I don't think it will make you feel better, but if you blame situations and people all the time, that's not a way to move forwards. Because if you're giving the power away to other people, then there's not a lot you can do about it, and you need to take ownership for everything that's going on in your life.
Really awesome stuff. One important thing I do want to mention there is that Adam, he's not saying like create the training course, write the entire blog post. He's just saying like make your bed, do 10 push-ups, read 2 pages. These are not that hard to do at all. They're not even that time consuming. So you could do these like small like mini habits to start your day and build up, and then have that momentum throughout the day, because I really believe that the way you start your day really impacts how the rest of your day is going to go. And you mentioned something interesting where like we do have control. Like when we wake up, we have control of that time. And if you don't feel like you have control, you can just wake up 15 minutes earlier. And I believe within 15 minutes, anyone can make their bed, do 10 push-ups, read 2 pages. I mean, you've probably got like 5 more minutes in there easy. So one of the things that and
it's not to say, it's not to say you can't spend a lot longer than that, but we're talking like the bare minimums. But that will have such it's this MEDs. You mentioned Tim Ferriss earlier as well. It's something that just jumped to mind. A minimal effective dose. You're not going to get double the benefits from doing a half-hour morning routine as you are from a 15-hour. There's, at some point you get to that diminishing returns. Minimal effective dose for certain things. It's huge, and it's why my gym workouts are so short. It's because I understand I will get overall a better workout if you spend a longer time. But in terms of minimal effective dose and doing it little and often, I'm a big believer in that sort of thing. And same for your morning routines. Really just them very calculated and specific and thoughtful and purposeful minutes can have a huge impact.
Yeah, I really like that concept because we can really get hung over by the idea that like we have so many. No, I mean like as you mentioned with the workout, like you think that it could take like 2 hours, but in some cases, depending on what kind of results you're going after, you may be more suited for a 20-minute thing if you have a busy schedule. If you have a 9 to 5, you're looking to side hustle. You may look for that more efficient route that still is effective. And
it's so often as well. You know, people, I've only got 20 minutes. I ain't got time to work out. Some of my best workouts, I like to work out a little bit longer than that, but some of my best workouts have recent times, have been when I've got a meeting or something that I have a dead finish time that I have to be done by, and it's very easy to go, I haven't got time. But instead, go in there, you got that little bit more oomph, you got like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and there's been some of my best workouts because you don't mess around, you get it done and you get out, and it's realistically you might not have, for your body, you probably the same sort of benefits that your usual 45-minute workout, but you just you are a lot more purposeful and efficient.
Yeah, with less time to do something, you'll definitely be a lot more attentive to how you use that time.
The power of deadlines.
But one thing I really do want to touch upon is you mentioned that control, that we all have control. Some of us don't think we have control, but we're just not approaching it the right way. And I thought of you hear someone like Gary Vaynerchuk working like 18 hours a day or like something really incredible like that. You hear about someone else, like the more common story is someone who may feel a little tired after coming back from their job and go to like watching TV. So what do you believe is the difference between someone who's just able to power through, have that strong mindset, I'm feeling tired, I've been working for a while, but I still do it, and I'm still productive, versus someone who may feel a little tired and just break down towards the end of the day?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's loads of tactics and specifics, and we touched on them about setting yourselves out and health and like routines and things. But on the big scale of things, the obvious difference, as I say, you've got two twins who are doing the same amount of work and exactly that. They've got the same diet, same nutrition, all of that stuff. And one of them, for some reason, is exactly as you said, just burnt out, destroyed, knackered at the end of it. And the other one is not. And beyond that, they seem to have boundless energy and are a bit happy for some reason. So the difference is generally in that scenario is whether you're motivated by desperation or inspiration. So, and that is huge. And it's how, I feel personally out of some of the stuff I've done of recent times, it seems a bit crazy in some of the stuff I've done in terms of like going certain places and going above and beyond in terms of the book and the podcast and different things, because I'm inspired by the overall big mission, the vision. So it pulls me towards it. Whereas if you're working out of desperation in whatever it is you're doing, it is an absolute slog. That's when you get burnt out. That's when you get overworked. And it's a massive thing. And there's no right or wrong in terms of what inspires you or makes you work out of desperation. But that's why in a certain job that technically you should be very happy. Why are you looking? Why are you quitting? Why are you chucking that all away to do something? It's because you're in desperation in this arena, whatever it is. And you need to be inspired. You need to have a purpose. You get one life. I don't believe we all at some point work for a means to an end as a stepping stone. Now, unfortunately, people get sometimes stuck in that stepping stone and feel like this is what it's there. It's it's to get money. That's it. I'll do other things or whatever. Or this is life. Life is meant to be a struggle. There's so many things you can do out there. I don't believe you should be sticking a round peg in a square hole. There's nothing wrong with your job, but if you're unhappy, it's not for you. It's the same thing that some people would hate what I do, and I get that. That's absolutely fine. And it's not like my job's better than yours or my career's better than yours. It's just different. And I think it's just doing the work, as we said, that awareness work to find out what you do and don't like, what fires you up, what lights you up, and that's going to be the difference between boundless energy, inspired or desperate, and just no energy through the floor. Taking into account, obviously, you could be inspired and on the mission and on purpose and just going for it. But then if you don't have the tactics of, health, nutrition, sleep, obviously you're still going to be battered and have no energy.
Really interesting stuff there. I mean, one of the things we should really grab from that, I mean, I really like that desperation versus inspiration. The way we think about our work and what we're heading towards can really have an impact on our energy level throughout the day. So I really like that key difference, even if you have that twin scenario that you mentioned before. And I feel like a lot of this really comes down to the mindset that can really hold people back from accomplishing their goals. I'm wondering if you can think of anything else that you believe really results in people feeling stuck in where they are now.
Yeah. I call it the I struggle scenario. It's in the book as well. So it's where you see your problems of either indestructible, inescapable, or what's the last I? Indestructible, inescapable, individual. So again, it's that taking that mindset. So you might say, oh, I overcome, I'm doing this, and I'll look at you and I'll say, yeah, but that's different. That's because you're like 20 whatever. It's different for me. I have my own individual problems. Mine, they're unique to me. And also feeling like that problem is a permanent one. Like it's indestructible. It is what it is. And then I can't get away from it. When people from the outside would say, well, why don't you leave your job? Why don't you quit your job? Oh, I can't. It's the concept of, it's not even on a question. I cannot do that. I physically cannot. Why not? I have 2 kids. Well, Bob over there, he had 4 kids. He was working the same job and he sacked it off because he hated it. Now he's happy doing something else. Oh, but that's because he's Bob. That's because he's got brown hair. I can't do that. It's this sort of thing. And it's just, no one has a new problem. And I loved it. I think it was a quote by someone like Will Smith. In that sense, you are not a unique snowflake. No one has a new problem. Someone wrote the answer down somewhere in a book. It's, the history of mankind, and even with the technological advances and how it's different now, no one has a unique problem. There's so many problems or variations, or people have gone through more adversity than me, that it's very unlikely you are the person that has the most adversity and biggest problems on the planet, that you are the one that you cannot get out of your problems. But sometimes people feel like that. I think it's always relieving and to try and just start to shift that mindset that, people have a lot of problems, but they overcome them. And, once in the book as well, one of the reasons I didn't want to make it the Adam Lewis Walker book, that it is Tales and Tactics to Thrive, is filled with the most inspiring examples of people and how they've approached life and what they've overcome, and from all over the world. So you will relate to someone in there. That's the point, because I get that someone will hear what I did and think, well, that's nothing like me. I don't get any of that. I'm good. Then you'll read someone else and you'll be like, actually, I can understand that. I can relate to that. And that's the whole point of it. Adversity is coming for all of us if you're not in it this second. So it's not a question of necessarily avoiding adversity. It's how you deal with it when it comes, because it will come to all of us. So that's why I think it's important, and ties back as well to the start of the interview when you said it's a lot better to be in training for when that comes, as opposed to having the rug pulled from under you like it happened to me. Obviously, I didn't expect it. Most people don't. Pole vaulting in the rain, though, maybe I should have expected it. But everything changed for me. My identity lost, all my lifestyle, everything changed. Everything was tied up around the pole vault, and I was just lost for a few years. But that's my thoughts. And around about the problems, just, it's not unique. It's not weird. It's normal to have problems. It's how you deal with them. It's just that mindset of, looking for the positive in situations, and it's just problem solving, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned something really interesting. I really like that quote about problems, because there are people who, a lot of people are single moms trying to be entrepreneurs. There are a lot of people who have athletic injuries that end their careers. But it's really about how we respond to that adversity, as Adam mentioned, and also how we label it, because some people will label an injury it's my life is over. This is everything I aspire to become. Other people will say, okay, this was rough. It's hurt a little bit, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to find a way to reinvent myself. So it's also in how you label the things that happen to you, and just being aware that people do have bigger problems, and people have come from more adversity and ended up achieving more than a lot of us.
Yeah. I mean, just an obvious thing. Imagine the Rocky movie. If he wasn't in an adversity from the start of it and the majority of the movie, it would be a useless movie. If he starts a Rocky movie and he's just like grown up and he's put into like a elite training facility from when he was young, you'd be like, yeah, this is a good movie. I wonder what's going to happen. Oh, he's a legendary boxer. Big surprise. But it's the whole point of him, down and out like debt collector. Just it's not looking good, beating up like hanging meat and just striving for it, and things going wrong, and everyone doubting him and giving up on him. And that's the whole story behind obviously Sylvester Stallone making the movie, and all of that is why it's such a popular movie and why it resonates with so many people, because we're all going through our own Rocky story. So when something I like to frame, when anything really happens that is not the best or not the ideal plan, that is your own little Rocky movie, and just think how much sweeter it's going to be when you come back from whatever it is that's going to kick you right in the you-know-whats.
And when you are trying to make that comeback, part of that comeback, I mean, it's based on your mindset, it's based on a lot of stuff we've talked about already, but I believe a lot of it is also based on the habits that you develop along the way. So with that in mind, I'm wondering, Adam, if you could share with us some of the habits that you've developed that you consider essential for your success.
Cool. Well, we've touched on kind of loosely of quite a few of them, but I'm a big reader as well. And again, I don't think reading necessarily isolated is the key, but I think what you put into your mind daily around that. So you could be reading all the wrong stuff by someone's definition, but I mean, it's like anything. It's right. If you watch news, for example, constantly, that's, CNN, constantly negative news. So if you're watching something or reading something that's negative or whiny all the time, you're not going to be in the best shape. Let's not mess around. So I think what you put into your mind daily, for me, that's, reading is a huge thing. It centers me, grounds me. So reading the right stuff daily would be the key kind of addition to reading. So for me personally, as I say, some mindfulness practice. I generally like to move and breathe, get out in nature daily. So I spend time. My morning routine encapsulates, a good sort of 45 minutes, an hour, the school routine, spending time with my boys, dropping them off daily, which is essential, easy not to do. Essential for me, this is easy not to do, easy to do in the way I've designed my lifestyle. I do have the flexibility of certain times and to construct my day. Then I drive down to the lake, read whilst facing the vast ocean. Basically, it's not the lake, but to me as an English person, it looks like the sea. And then, as I say, if I haven't driven there to do my reading, I usually walk along the beach if the weather's suitable. And by that I mean, we wear the proper Michigan stuff. The snow's coming, and we still get out and walk. So it's fine if it's even if it's very cold. Even sometimes it's better. Or I might walk to the gym, but I do, the mindfulness, move and breathe, kind of, purposeful breaths in and out is a specific way to do it. But yeah, just the clearing of the mind. I think as a former PE teacher and a strength and conditioning coach, I was always very on top of physical training and recovery. I was very aware of recovery because I needed to perform on certain days to compete. So I do rest days and things. But especially then, I didn't really allow or do the consistent mental recovery, and I think people are a lot easier to understand, you can't train every day physically, or you just keep breaking down your muscles and you never recover. You actually can do more damage than good. But when it comes to your mind, some people are constantly hustling, constantly pushing, and they wonder why they are burned out and overwhelmed and just stressed, because when do you have that mental break? And yeah, people may have this like 1 or 2 week holiday a year where they have a nice break. What about the rest of the time? And you talked about habits. Why can't you have a mental break daily? We talked about, incorporating it into your day, and that little accumulation of and if people don't like the sound of meditation, say, okay, how do you like the sound of a bit of quiet time, a bit of chilling out? Then, okay, yeah, I like the sound of that. Well, whatever you want to term it and how you actually physically do it is up to you. But having some of that space for some mindfulness practice I think is essential. So that would be some of my key stuff. I'm trying to think of anything else. Habits wise, obviously nutrition. Obviously, I can go through some of that. But I'm a big believer in intermittent fasting as well. I would say all the things I get up to in terms of habits, there are some key ones, but it's more that accumulation of all these little things that become your norm. So, barely think about them now. I'm aware I do them. I think I'm purposeful then, but, they have become part of my routine, which is nice.
A lot of really awesome habits there. Thank you for really sharing a lot of them with us. I think one of the big ones, though, is, the mindfulness is important because, we get the physical idea, you can't exercise every single day, but the mental side, it's like the mind is connected to the body, and the mind definitely needs a lot of rest too. So definitely a really great habit to point out. You also mentioned the reading habit, and I'm wondering, I ask everyone for book recommendations. I'm wondering if you could share three.
Three? God, thank you for giving me three. Okay, so all time or this year or this month. Okay, so I think my all-time favorite one. Actually, I'm just going to grab the three that are here that are kind of positioned. The three. So I know we're not doing video here, but Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor E. Frankl. This is. If you haven't heard of this, it's a pretty short book. It's like 150 pages. So we talk about quality and impactfulness. This is just, especially the way our conversation's gone. This was written by, he's a psychologist who got caught up in the Nazi death camps. It's really helpful. We talked about people with problems and getting perspective. This just makes you it really gives you a slap around the face, and obviously it's a true story, but he's a psychologist and really thinking behind that. That's if you're feeling a bit lost or just that recentering of how lucky we are in today's day and age as well. If you're listening to this, you've got a certain level of luxury and you can hear for starters. So there's worse people often than you. If you're watching this on Instagram or when you can see there's so many. It just gives you a great perspective. So I don't want to harp on about that, but I really recommend that. We talked about minimal effective dose. It's 150 pages. You can bang that in a day, and it will have a huge impact. The 50th Law, 50 Cent and Robert Greene. I read this year, again, very purposeful, because I do get recommended a lot of books on my show as well, and this was one. I'm a big fan of Robert Greene and his work, and this was one that was on my radar, and I actually got it and planned when I was going to read it. I launched my book, as you mentioned, in October, and I knew writing a book can be scary in some ways and getting all to that approach, but ultimately the fear, and we all have different levels of fear for different things, and to not acknowledge that is, I think, unrealistic. So I knew you're going to have to get out there and be fearful or fearless, or you're going to have to face your fear a lot more. And I'm not scared about going out there and talking, but I wanted to go to another level, and I know there's going to be people who are going to pick up my book and say it's absolute toilet, useless, which is fine. But it's not fine if you've got a weak mindset and you're scared of that sort of thing. And this book, 50th Law, is all about fearless, basically. It's written with 50 Cent as well, talking obviously, again, perspective. He got shot 9 times. After that point, he was a little bit even more fearless. It's kind of like that's his adversity. It's not going to get much more worse than that unless he's dead. So his approach, and again, Robert Greene really digging into that, was, it's a really useful book around that if you've got to do some big, bold project. And then finally, I know we're tight on time now as well, The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles, Stephen Pressfield. Again, because this has really been the year of the book for me, this one, if you've got any projects created, right, like writing a book or, anything that's you've got to do a project, this is the one that will talk about resistance. Again, it's not individual or unique to you. We all face. And so it's about doing that battle with resistance and kicking its ass and pushing through. So they're my 3 recommendations. And I know we're almost out of time.
Adam, thank you so much for sharing those great book recommendations. Those will all be in the show notes, marketberry.com/E297. We'll also throw in content marketing secrets in there for anyone interested in driving traffic and boosting revenue. That is the book for you, which will be in the show notes as well. And before we wrap up this episode, Adam, I've asked you several questions throughout our time together, but what do you believe is one question that we need to be asking ourselves more often?
What can I do today to make today great? I suggest asking this several times in the day, but if you haven't asked it once yet today, ask it in the second half of today, because the important thing This is a great question to ask any day, but the days when you're having a struggle, when it is more of a challenge, it becomes even more valuable, because it's not what do I wish I am going to do or what do I want to do, it's what can I do. So for me, it could be like, okay, to make today great, if I go and play with my kids for an hour. To make today great, if I go and play table tennis with my wife, or go for a walk around the block, do something, call someone on the phone and tell them I love them. Whatever it is for you specifically, then you have a great day, regardless of how tough it was for a good chunk of it, or if it was awesome. Before you know it, you keep asking yourself that question daily. You have great days, become a great week, great month, great life. Done. Also, in terms of book recommendations, Awaken Your Alpha. Genuinely, I'd love you to check this out. It's ayalpha.com/book, and there's loads of launch giveaways. And also, we talked a lot about, if someone goes across and wants to get that, I will give my 7-day video series, Claim Your Clarity, which kind of sums up some of the key concepts near the start of the book, but gives it that momentum to get going.
Adam, thank you so much for sharing all of your great insights with us and for sharing your resource. Don't forget, Breakthrough Success listeners, all those will be in the show notes. You could get your copy of Awaken Your Alpha. Also listen to the podcast as well. Adam, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing all of your great insights with us. It was such a pleasure to have you on Breakthrough Success.
No worries, and I'll see you in a couple of months. We're both speaking at the same event.
Want to dominate the podcasting industry? Now you can with your free copy of my book, Podcast Domination. You'll learn how to launch, grow, and monetize your very own show. And whether you are a beginner or an expert, this book has a lot of golden nuggets for you. We'll cover the cost of producing this book. All we ask is that you cover the shipping. To get your copy, head over to markgabberty.com/PD.